You know your image is at risk. There is no doubt. Words cut. Lies proliferate. The attack is silent but devastating. The other person acts. They spread rumors. They distort facts. They hide in the shadows. You react. You ignore. You try to justify. You believe that all this will pass. The pattern is confirmed. Mistrust grows. The image deteriorates. Contempt sets in. The raw truth is, nothing changes because the one attacking is not seeking justice, but control. You feel you need to explain yourself, that you must defend yourself, but that only fuels the cycle. The bond exists because you still care. Respect fades away because the attacker doesn't fear the consequences. The messages may be subtle, but the impact is clear. The scorn turns against those who lie, who manipulate, and today you witness it. An attack on reputation is not a mistake. It is a choice. The attacker knows what they're doing, and those who accept it also have a decision to make. This is not a battle of words, it's a matter of character. As long as you remain on the defensive, the image continues to crumble. You don't need more justifications. You don't need to understand who lies. You need to decide whether you will allow this to continue. The reality has already been presented. The deterioration is not just external. The cruelest reflection is found within you. You look at yourself in the mirror, and the image no longer matches the truth you once knew. The other person acts. They project uncertainties. They plant doubts, not just about your reputation, but about your own worth. You react, seeking approval in the wrong places. You ask those who have been silent if they also believe the lies. External confirmation doesn't arrive. The pattern confirms itself, trust shatters. You feel increasingly isolated, in a labyrinth where the echoes of others' voices reverberate, distorting your own narrative. The hours pass, and you become a shadow of what you once were. The disdain is no longer just directed at you by others. You begin to internalize it. The truth is that the attack does not just destabilize your image, it contaminates your essence. As time passes, the memories of those safe moments, of genuine connections, become hazy. You find yourself falling into the trap of comparison, and that only reinforces the cruelty of the situation. The bond holds only as long as you prefer to ignore reality. The other doesn't need to do much. They just observe as you consume yourself. Manipulation is an art, and the attacker is an artist. They choose their words precisely, knowing that every phrase is a sharp knife. You continue trying to explain the inexplicable, hoping that some positive echo will resonate amidst the noise. You feel the pressure, the need to scream, to make yourself heard. But the truth is that the more you try, the deeper you sink. The cycle repeats. He throws the next lie. You justify your choices and your image crumbles like burnt paper. Each day brings new traps. A casual conversation turns into an emotional battlefield. You struggle to maintain sanity while trying to decipher which part of you is still real and which part has been corroded by disdain and betrayal. The focus now shifts. The fight is no longer against the other, but against your own mind. You look to the past and recall the advice you heard. Let it go. Don't take it personally. Phrases that echo hollow, as if the pain could simply be ignored or minimized. The objective truth is this: the pain is there and it is palpable. Each rumor is a drop of water that accumulates until the cistern overflows. You fear the explosion, but with each passing day it becomes inevitable. Contempt not only corrodes the image, but also wears out what remains of your relationships. You wonder who will stay when all this is over. Meanwhile, those who attack remain in their comfortable position, watching the destruction and enjoying the spectacle. They don't need justifications because they control the script. Contempt transforms into power. And you? You see yourself as a mere spectator of your own life. You are not just facing the other. You are fighting against yourself, your insecurities and fears. Standing still is not just a choice, it is a trap. Contrary to what many suggest, staying silent is not strength. It's impotence, it's accepting the dominance of the other's narrative. The weight of the days accumulates. Memories become more nebulous. The line between what you know and what the other says gets blurred. Your truth is no longer the only truth that exists. It's just one among many versions that circulate. Every unspoken word weighs like a brick. Thus you find yourself at a crossroads. Accept this new narrative line or fight to reclaim what is yours. The cost is clear. Continuing in this cycle may seem safe, but safety is illusory. You may have to choose the more painful option. Confront the other, confront the pain, no longer as a victim, but as someone who refuses to continue accepting an attack on your essence. But beware, this decision does not come without risks. The other's reaction can be unpredictable, and darker reflections begin to emerge. It may be that by making this decision, you do not find support. You may feel even more isolated, and when the dust settles, will there be anything left to rebuild? The fact is that the situation won't resolve itself. Leaving things as they are will always be a burden. The contempt has already taken over. It's time to decide what truly matters. This reality has already been presented. You find yourself in a dark space, between walls that echo your insecurities. Contempt is not just an external feeling. It has infiltrated every fiber of your being. Doubt transforms into a constant companion. The watchful eyes of those around you weigh like chains. You realize that manipulation is not limited to the circulating lie. It extends to forced smiles and superficial conversations. This is what remains when trust is broken. Every interaction requires extra effort, and you feel this burden. Everyday life no longer has the same color. Conversations that once were light-hearted are now a minefield. You hesitate, calculate your words, analyze reactions, and this becomes a pattern. The other person does. They watch your struggle. They feed on your vulnerability, while you hide in your own mind. The image you projected to the world is now a cracked mask. People around you can feel the tension, but few understand it. They see only what they believe to be real. You react. You try to show strength. You build a facade in search of recognition. But with each passing day, it becomes harder even for you to believe it. The cycle repeats. They attack again. You defend yourself, and the fragility increases. The past, which once was a safe harbor, turns into a labyrinth of distorted memories. Moments of joy are overshadowed by this new filter of distrust. You are no longer the person who smiled without thinking twice. Now each laugh is accompanied by a shadow, a reminder of the disdain you feel coming from the other. At this point, a new reality emerges. You begin to realize that the most important battle might not be against the other, but against the disfigured version of yourself that is forming. The internal struggle intensifies. The need to regain your essence, dominated by disdain, begins to awaken a spark of resistance. You observe your true allies, those who remain even in the storms. Conversations with them contrast with interactions filled with expectation and judgment. For the first time, you feel a bit lighter. They see beyond the lies, they know you, and this knowledge becomes your refuge. But the struggle is not simple. The other's disdain still reverberates, especially in moments of solitude. When loneliness tightens its grip, the echoes of malicious words seem to gain strength. You question whether you are ready to challenge this imposed narrative. Remembering that there are those who see beyond the cruel words is a fragile foundation. In this scenario, a choice presents itself. Remaining on the defensive ensures a false sense of security, but the truth is that this solves nothing. The cycle remains intact. Now, instead of feeling powerless, you begin to ask yourself what you are truly willing to lose. Standing still might be a form of acceptance, but taking action could mean letting go of what's left of your comfort zone. The mind stirs. You think about confronting the other, but the fear of what this might trigger also haunts you. You could be attacked again, or even worse, you might find that some people you respected have also walked away. But the only alternative is to continue living this distorted reality, where your image is manipulated by those who do not understand your truths. As this decision materializes, you feel a surge of adrenaline. The act of deciding is not a weakness, it is a sign of strength. You start to outline a plan. It will not be an impulsive attack, but a firm declaration. This new approach is not about revenge, it is about reclaiming your narrative. The other person may try to destroy your image, but the reality is that you know your truths. And those truths are more powerful than any rumor cast into the air. Contempt, although present, is no longer a burden. It is a fuel that can give you the courage needed to stand up and speak, to look the other person in the eyes and expose their lies, to create a new story. A painful path, yes, but a path of affirmation. You are about to take control. In doing so, you embrace the pain, but also the freedom. This internal struggle finally finds a purpose, and if the contempt persists, you will be ready. Because now, every word you utter will be a claim not only to your reputation, but to your true essence. You are no longer just facing an attack, you are rediscovering yourself. and that is a victory that no one can take away from you. You feel a shift inside yourself. The adrenaline pulses, but it is not just fear, it is determination. Your narrative will no longer be dictated by the other person. Every word you utter carries a new weight. This is the moment when you decide how you want to be remembered. As you outline your plan, the memory of conversations with those who truly matter begins to become a mantra. They do not see you as a distorted reflection. They see your true essence, the one that was overshadowed by echoes of distrust and contempt. You realize that these bonds, built on honesty and understanding, are what truly matter. The other person watches. They observe your attempts at self-assertion. He prepares for a new attack, hoping that you will hesitate. But you are no longer paralyzed. You react. You take a deep breath and commit to not yielding, not anymore. The pattern changes. Instead of inaction, a plan emerges. You decide to expose the lies, not out of revenge, but for defense. Each act of vulnerability now becomes a form of strength. It is time to rewrite the story. There is a deep silence before the storm. Your mind sinks into doubts, not about the certainty of the path, but about the possible consequences. You wonder if there are others who think like you, who feel what you feel. Are there hidden allies, people who are also fed up with the manipulations? In that moment, you realize that the battle is not only yours. It echoes across different spheres, where many are fighting their own silent wars. The disdain you face is a symptom of something greater, something that permeates superficial relationships and empty interactions. Like a plague, it spreads, corroding trust between individuals. You connect the dots and realize you are not alone. The other has a network, but there are also those who yearn for the truth. There is a collective potential there waiting to be activated. This revelation ignites a new flame in you. However, fear is still palpable. What if you stand up and there is no support? What if the reaction is the opposite of what you expect? The disdain may return in the form of isolation, and this possibility haunts you. But as these questions swirl in your head, you remember what is truly at stake. Who are the people who remain by your side? They do not assess your worth based on what someone says. They know your past, your struggles, and your victories. You decide that you cannot let the lie win. The image of the other, manipulative and sneaky, becomes less threatening. You refuse to be the backdrop of your own defeat. Now, every step toward the truth is an act of resistance. And so, you begin to gather the words that would define your new approach. The conversations with those who trust you take on a new focus. Each one of them turns into a strategy. You discuss the lies, expose the hidden truths, seek to understand how contempt originates and how it can be combated. As these interactions intensify, a new dynamic emerges. The voices around you begin to echo a feeling of solidarity. Together, you form an invisible network of support, challenging the shadows cast by the other. This union becomes a shield against the advances of contempt. Your strength amplifies. The contempt that once nestled in your chest now transforms into renewed motivation. You decide that you will no longer just react. This is the moment to act. In a direct confrontation, you present your truths. You reveal the reality about the lies that were spread. You make room for others to hear, and it is at that moment that the transformation happens. The narrative is no longer just yours. Others begin to join. They bring their own stories of mistrust and manipulation. A conversation transforms into a larger dialogue about respect, truth, and humanity. This movement comes to life. Those who felt isolated now realize that their collective voices have power. The cycle of contempt begins to be broken, and the other, who once operated in the shadows, now finds themselves facing a cohesive group determined not to let disinformation prevail. With every step forward, you realize that this fight is more than a personal matter. It is a collective affirmation of dignity and authenticity. The echoes of mistrust begin to be silenced by declarations of truth. You are no longer just a spectator in your life, you are the protagonist. And in the end, a new perception emerges. Contempt is neither a burden nor a weakness. It is the motivation to rebuild. It is a constant reminder of the importance of mutual respect in all human interactions. Thus, the internal struggle that once seemed unbearable transforms into a space for growth and renewal. You not only regain your voice, you help others find theirs. The struggle becomes a symbol of resilience, and in the end, when the echoes of contempt finally dissipate, You find yourself standing stronger and more in tune with who you really are. The reality was already presented. Now you and those who have joined you have a new story, one that will not fade so easily.